Hi everybody, welcome back to E3D Designs. Today we're going to start the carriage assembly. We're going to go ahead and get the heat sink mounted into our carriage, as well as get it ready for some other parts to be inserted into it. And we're also going to go ahead and tear down that old carriage and pull what few parts we need out of it. So let's get started. Alright, so first let's start off by taking off some of the parts from the old carriage. And just for fun, let's see how much that old carriage weighed. Turn on our scale. Okay, so the original carriage weighed 40.3 ounces. Yeah, we're gonna fix that. Alright, so let's start taking this thing apart. So we can save the fans. Now we need to get this apart. Usually you can press this clamp and this will pull out. Unfortunately, there's filament still in there. We're going to see if we can't manage to get it apart. Okay, we also want to save these. Just pulling out this PTFE tubing. Save that one. It's still not going to let us pull it out. So, I'm going to try something and heat this up with a lighter. Be able to do a cold pull, maybe. Haha, we got it. Now, this is your old hot ends filament sensor circuit boards, and it's basically a feed through for all your sensors. I don't use any of this. What do we do with stuff we don't like? Junk. Now we need to get the screws out of here so we can get these two stepper motors, because we do want those. There's our one stepper. And stepper number 2. Okay, the only other thing we need out of this are our bearings. Ones on the front are pretty easy. Slide your tool through it, pop them right on out. There's 3. Well, we will need 4. So, if you do pretty good, you usually get right on the edge of the washer right here and you can push, and then sometimes it'll come out. Be careful, don't do what I just did and score the bearing. There we go. There's 4, even though I kind of scratched that one, might not use that one. That one came out nice and neat though. Okay, so once again, here's all the stuff that's left. And again, junk. What we kept off of it, we kept the 2 cooling fans. We can use that for a parts cooling fan. We kept our little PTFE holders or cushions, or I don't know what you want to call these things, but they help hold the PTFE in place. I saved those. If you want to save these, you can. Never hurts to have a couple fan shrouds. Of course, all the bolts and screws. Always handy to have metric 3 screws, and these have the nice Torx that are in the rest of the Da Vinci. And then we're going to save our brass bushings, bearings to mount into the new carriage. That completes tearing down the original carriage. Today we're going to start working on assembly of our E3D Chimera Hotend carriage. Before we start assembling parts into this, we want to make sure we've got everything cleaned up and fitment ready. Draw out all your holes, make sure they're all nice and open and clear. You want to make sure you get a metric 3 screw through most of them. These two side holes here, you want to make sure that you get the E3D Allen wrench through it. You've got two tiny grub screws on the side of your hot end, those are on each side. Those are designed for allowing the height adjustment of your hot end. You're also going to make sure that you open up these holes for your bearings so all your bearings will fit. I do recommend a bit set for your Dremel. This bit set has a couple of the round bits that are almost the exact same size as your bearing, maybe just a tad larger, which leaves us a little bit of room for JB Weld to hold them in place. I usually just take it, running in and out of these back ones, making sure to flush it against the back edge so the bearing will seat nice and neat. And then you can run it up and down inside like this. Once you're done, the bearing should drop nice and neat all the way back, nice and smooth. Don't force it in. If you do, you can crack this right here and then you just wasted a day's worth of print. At least that's how long it took me to print this. You also want to get your female JST connector if you're going to use the one-pointed connection like I set this up for, and make sure that it fits neatly and snaps up in place in here. Don't want to snap it in there yet, but you want to make sure it'll fit nice and neat in there. You also want to make sure you can get your 3 screws and washers in through the back here, as well as your screws in from the top here. Alright, so don't mind the exit, so I keep the parts in proper view till I'm used to this setup. So first thing we want to do, we want to go ahead and install our heat set. It's going to go right here. You can see that hole very well. Black probably was not a good color choice for this, but well, unfortunately this PACF seems to be the best thing for these carriages, at least for the stuff I print. Okay, so this one can be hard to put in place. I usually grab one of my long metric 3 screws, put it through the hole. Just get a turn or two on that. So you can pull it down nice and tight. And then we're just gonna get it with our soldering iron and pull it in. So it's flush. Make sure to keep it pulled down nice and tight and flush. Looks pretty good. And take out the bolt. So the next thing we will need to do is get the parts we need to put the heat sink in. So out of your hot side, you need the one that says Chimera Fixings Hot Side. Why they put these two in here, I don't know, because all we really need are the 4 grub screws at the moment from there. And then from our cold side, we'll need a little tool set, our heat block, set the fan aside, and we need our 2 collets. And save our little PTFE clips for now. We don't need those. So first things first, collets go into the brass fittings. Put your collets in. And now from this Chimera hot side fixings, you need these 4 little grub screws. Put the rest back in the bag because you will need them later for the hot end assembly. Alright, I'm going to put one of these in each of these holes right here. Usually what I will do is I will grab one of our heat brakes, put it in, make sure that it will slide in past the set screw. So I just put it in until it slides past, tighten them and back, just snug, and then back them off like 1/8 of a turn. Going in far enough you don't have to worry about them falling out, but not so far that they're going to cause problems when you go to assemble later. So both sides slide in nice and neat. Put that back away. Right. Now in the other bag that is your Cyclops fixing cold side. Apparently a lot of the parts are used between the Chimera and the Cyclops. Put all that out there. 2 silver screws are for your fan. We won't need them till later. We actually seem to have an extra screw. I'll take this, slide it right up through the bottom. Should line up nice and neat. Start putting in your 3 screws that come with the hot end here from the top. Now we're going to go ahead and get our get 3 more $10mm screws, as well as 3 washers. And those will go in from the back. You don't have to put all 6 screws in, but I like to make sure the heat brake is in there nice and tight so it doesn't wobble around at all. And once you've got all 6 in, make sure they're all nice and tight. Usually you got to get these top ones pretty tight so the holes will line up for these. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there. In our next episode, we'll go ahead and assemble those hot ends and get them ready to install in the carriage. We'll have to do a lot of wire splicing and soldering and put connectors on to put into that one connector. And then we'll be ready to insert the carriage into the chassis. Any further information you may need will be in the links provided below in the description. Remember, if you like the channel, subscribe to it. If you haven't rang that bell yet to get updates, ring the bell. And remember, if it ain't broke, upgrade it. I'll see you soon.